Good evening, folks, and welcome back to day number 26 of the Bible in 365. Today we are taking a look at Exodus chapter 28 and Exodus chapter 29. Let's go ahead and get started. All right, folks, so our journey begins today in Exodus chapter 28. Within this chapter, we find the Aaronite priest code, and it essentially shows us that priests were to be set apart and to serve God in a special way. Within this chapter, we see God describing the clothing that he wants the priests to wear as they serve him within the tabernacle. It begins by describing the holy robes or the priestly robes, which were supposed to be made from the finest of materials. This included red, purple, and gold colors, and the designs were to be made and constructed by expert designers. It had to be perfect. The best of the best were working on these because God deserves the best of the best. Now, in addition to these holy robes, the workers also constructed a bag, an ephod, which is a sleeveless garment, a headdress, and then an intricately made coat, which was made of very colorful thread. Now we see that in essence this was once again a part of the ordination process for the priests because they were supposed to be set apart. Now Aaron and his sons also received specific items for proper priesthood. Some of these were they were supposed to take 2 beryl stones and engrave the names of the children of Israel on those stones. So the engraving was to be done by a skilled jeweler, and he would trim in the names in gold. So essentially these stones would go on the ephod, that sleeveless garment, and it was in order for the Israelites to be remembered. So Aaron would carry these stones with him at all times and have the names before him as he went and approached God. Now it tells us a little bit about the priestly bags. These were made of luxury linen. Coach Gucci bags had nothing on these priestly bags. They were hand stitched. They were intricately designed, same color scheme as the robe because you got to match. And they had stitching along the edges. The bag had 4 rows of jewels, and these jewels were the finest quality, and each type of jewel had its own specific purpose. Now, there were gold rings that were to be attached to the ephod so that the bag would not be lost. Lastly, it has instructions that Aaron and his sons, the priests, were to wear this holy attire whenever they went into the meeting place. And so essentially whenever they were doing holy work, they had to wear this attire because it was supposed to keep them from death by sin, purify them in a sense. And God expected that this would be carried on to future generations. Now moving forward to chapter 29, within chapter 29, we learn of the consecration of priests, which was Aaron and his sons, and God gave very, very specific instructions to Moses about how Aaron and his sons were the chosen ones before God and how they were supposed to make sacrifices. So essentially, before entering the temple or the tabernacle, the priests were to be cleansed and clothed in these special garments. They were instructed to take 3 types of unleavened bread, 2 rams, and a bull, and all of the animals were to be without defect since they were going to be an offering for the Lord. Now, God then instructed the priest to take the bull first because it was to be used as a sin offering. Then they would take one of the rams. After Aaron and his sons laid their hands on the ram's head, it would be sacrificed. This first ram was a burnt offering, and the burnt offering made an aroma that pleased the Lord. The last animal, which was also a ram, would be an ordination ram, and they were to wave a loaf of bread as a wave offering. After this, they would eat parts of the ordination ram along with the bread, and any pieces that were left over were to be burnt, and no one else could eat from this ram because it was sacred. The chapter then ends talking about the consecration of the altar. So the Lord told Moses to tell Aaron and his sons that they should do as God had commanded. They were to present a sin offering for 7 days on the altar. Once the 7 days were done, the altar would be a very holy place. They were also instructed to offer 2 one-year-old lambs as a sacrifice each day of the year, one in the morning and one at night. And Aaron was instructed to make these offerings, followed by his sons and then the generations that were to come. It is here with the consecration of the altar that our reading ends for tonight. I would just encourage you to take a moment to pause and to think, why all of these detailed instructions? Why is it so important that God gives Moses and Aaron and the future generations detailed instructions on how he wants to be worshiped and how he can be approached? It is just something very interesting to ponder and to consider and ask if it has any ramifications for our own lives and how we approach the throne of God, the throne of grace. All right, folks. So tomorrow we will continue taking a look at the book of Exodus, and we will be looking at Exodus chapters 30 through 32. As always, folks, God bless.